right, looks like we're live. Hello, Big Block Realty. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for joining us for this special training with Tony Smith. Many of you are familiar with Mike Ferry and his group of awesome coaches. Tony is one of the best and someone that I've learned a lot from over the years. And I'm really confident that over the next 45 minutes or so, he's going to add a lot of value and help us really fine tune probably the most critical and important skill set that we need in an environment like today, right? With the shortage of inventory and our necessity to just create more inventory, having the ability to strengthen your listing presentation so that you can step into these meetings and walk out with more signed contracts, more opportunities, and close more deals is mission critical. And I don't know that there's anyone better than Tony himself to kind of break that down for us. So Tony, I'm very excited to have you with us today at Big Block Realty. How you doing today?
I am excited about this. Thanks for letting us into the shop and into your homes, wherever you're at today. We're here for you.
Awesome. So, Tony, I think the group, I can already see people starting to pile on, is excited to learn about how we can just sharpen our skills and be more effective. I know that most of my friends in the Mike Ferry organization are walking out 9 out of 10 times with the listing agreement signed, if not 10 out of 10 times. And I don't think that is luck. I don't think that it's chance. I think that it's very on purpose over a long period of fine tuning skills that you and Mike teach. So why don't we jump in?
I'm excited about it. Thank you. So first of all, thanks, Sam. Anytime we get a chance to come into this kind of space, our elite brokers that have all agreed to have a little relationship with us at Mike, we are excited here at MFO for it. We're excited for a couple of reasons. We're excited because there's 106,000 brokers out there, and 106,000 brokers in North America hardly ever do anything to support their agents. So anytime we get someone like Sam at Big Block, you get this support, you get the backing, you get the tools and the training, you get these kind of things. We know that's special. So I hope that you appreciate that, because it doesn't happen out there. Okay. We experience this every day. So thanks.
Thank you.
Stepping into the vice president role here at Mike Ferry, it's one of the first big kind of shocks and maybe even a little disappointments that I've experienced is that I used to blame everything on real estate agents, because I was a real estate agent my whole life. And I used to, if you realtors would just wake up and get it down and get your skills. But, the brokers out there are to blame too. So thank you for doing what you do for the agents. It's a great support. Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about listing presentation, and you nailed it. What's the average commission in your primary area where all the agents are working today?
Yeah, around 10 to 12 grand.
Right. So 10 grand. And in today's world, if you get a listing, are you getting 12 grand? Almost guaranteed, aren't you?
Yeah, in about 5 minutes.
Right. And so we're going to talk about more, because the inventory's done this and it's also done this. So the inventory has shrunk down to this critical low where if you get a listing, you're going to get paid. And the inventory is also moving more and more toward the skilled and coached agents. So it's not only moving in a shrinking in this way, it's moving away from many agents. So you've got to figure out how to get in the way of that. And the best way is through our presentation, right? How many second chances do you get for a listing today?
Not many.
No, you walk into a house, if you don't walk out with a contract signed, there's 1,000 wolves chomping at the door, and they're going to raise the price, lower the commission, lie, steal, cheat, whatever they got to do. They're going to do whatever they have to get that listing. You get one shot today. And I'm talking about you get one shot even with your best past customers. Your parents might list with someone else if you're not careful, right? So there's never been a time in my 33-year career, there's never been a time that the quality of the listing and presentation is more important. Like, this is the most critical time in your career, right? Mike has told us for years, okay, so there's prospecting, there's lead follow-up, and there's presenting. Which one is the most profitable? Presenting. All the leads in the world don't matter much if you botch it when you get to the presentation, right? All the prospecting in the world doesn't matter much if you don't know how to convert it to a signed contract. The listing presentation is and always will be the single most profitable thing you do in this business. Okay. The other side of the coin is many people run from a great presentation because, man, does a buyer world look easy, right? So it's pretty normal to go, well, this listing presentation, I got to learn skills and be embarrassed and do all these things to just try to get it set. Maybe I should just be a chauffeur for some buyers for a while, right? Long term, it doesn't work. You see all of the marquee real estate agents that have been around. I was just talking this morning to Hal Swayze. Hal Swayze, one of the best agents of all time, right? He's been doing over 200 deals for 15 straight years. Okay. And guess what we were talking about again today? Sharpening his listing presentation even a little more, right? So it goes on forever. But what we've got here is we've got a whole series of notes. I was talking to Sam, and we'll make sure that we get these out to you. Okay. We'll get those in your hands so you don't have to write down every word. Let's just look at the highlights. And typical Mike Ferry fashion, we like to dunk you in information. So we always try to give you so much more than you can handle and hope some of it sticks, right? So I'm going to get through as many of these points as I can in our time together. The first thing that Mike wants us to understand, if you want to have a strong listing presentation, let's scratch it. I'm actually going to use the word world class. When you decide to go do something in the real estate industry, what level are you trying to go for? Right? Are you trying to become an average listing agent, a so-so listing agent, once in a while listing agent? Why not world class? Right? If you want to become a world class, it's not hard in our industry because so few people are trying to become a world class listing agent. So you can rise to the top of the ranks. It's not that hard. Okay. But one of the first things you have to consider if you want a world-class listing presentation is you have got to refine and have a solid pre-appointment routine. One of the major cardinal sins that we see, even our best agents at times will get caught doing, is they'll be caught at the office and they go, I got a 4:00 listing appointment, let me return a few more emails, handle a few more problems. Let me do a few more things. They're tapping away and then they look at, oh, I'm going to be late. And they jump in the car and they're driving through traffic. You've been there, right? And you pull up to the house, you're practically in a sweat, your blood pressure's up, you're like that. You go run into the door, you knock on the door, and the first words out of your mouth, sorry, traffic. Now, is that a dynamic way to start a presentation with an apology?
Absolutely not.
That's the fastest way to move. Like this poor husband and wife, they go to work on time, right? They have to do their job or they're not going to have a job any longer. And agents show up late and unprepared. Okay. Does it mean that you should handle a file problem on the way to the listing appointment? Should you be trying to negotiate a termite inspection or something on your way over? No. Should you fight with your teenage kids all the way over? No. Right. If there's $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 on the line, you need to create a pre-appointment routine that gets you in the slot to do the job right. Okay. I don't know if you need to, drive by some of the comps, if you need to roll through the pre-qual and through the objections that you might receive, go through the listing presentation. I don't know if you need to park around the corner and roll through it 2 or 3 times before you get there. All right. For me, let's see, I had like 3,900 presentations that I counted in my career. And one of the things I noticed was that I had a little audio. Back in the early days, it was a cassette tape. And then towards the end of my career, that way it was on a phone, and it was a little audio, me talking to me. Tony, do you know how much blood, sweat, and tears you put into this industry? What are you doing? You're on your way over to a listing presentation, aren't you? Right? Are you going to walk out without the contract? Absolutely not. Okay. Do you have to love the house? No. Do you have to love the people? Absolutely not. Do you have the best service that money can buy? You bet you do. Okay, so you have one job to do. You have the job to present like you've been trained to present, close like you've been trained to close, and you walk out with a listing signed, period. And I would listen to that audio every time I would go on a listing presentation. Why not? Okay. Next, I wrote down, if you want to have, and I'm just going to keep using the word world class just to drive it into your head. If you want to have a world-class listing presentation, you must accept the fact that many people are not motivated or capable of selling. So pre-qualifying at some point has to become mandatory. It has to become mandatory. And I get it. When the inventory shrinks, the natural inclination, your natural thought is to stop pre-qualifying, right? Hey, they said come over, I'm coming over. You got to ask yourself, okay? If you are putting yourself in front of unmotivated or incapable sellers regularly, are you ever going to get the traction you need to become a great listing agent? You're not, right? And you just have to understand the fact that the pre-qualification is your best chance to win, right? It's like the big scouting report. It's your chance to find out little details, things you need to know, right? Are many sellers kind of trained to sound a little unmotivated? Yes. Hey, we don't have to sell this thing. We're just kind of, kicking around the block. We're not sure, they're trained to sound that way. Our job is to do a full, thorough pre-qualification so we can be prepared for the appointment.
I love that, Tony. It reminds me of something. I have to jump in because I think it's an important but also funny story. I was doing a coaching session with a great agent of ours a little while back. And I was telling her she has to do these pre-qualifying and do this before the appointment. And, we're going back and forth. She's fighting it. And then finally she says, but Sam, if I do this and I do it the right way, then I might find out that these people aren't actually going to sell. And that's bothersome. And I'm like, that's exactly the point. Like, that's literally the point. Like, you will be more proud of yourself canceling an appointment that you shouldn't have gone on than going on an appointment, spending the time preparing, doing the prezzo, and walking out with nothing.
Yep. 100%, right? And, we have to, first of all, accept the fact that their decision to move or not is not up to us. And we have very little, if any, influence on it. Now, we may be able to help them understand now versus later. If they've already decided we're moving, and you might be able to have influence on them doing it now versus waiting or later, or some of those things, right? Wait till the spring, or all those different objections. But we have nothing to do with their decision. They're either going to move or they're not, and it's not up to us. It is our job to find out, though. And if we find out and we pre-qualify, now we're set up to win, right? Very important. Some of our best agents, our top agents, have actually been caught removing the pre-qual recently because they think that it's such an intense market. It makes no sense. Don't do it. It just doesn't help. Okay. I'd rather see you go, thank God I didn't have to drive through traffic at 7:00 at night and go over there and get kicked around. I'd rather go back to the drawing board and do some more prospecting. Find someone that does have to move, right? You've got to look at it. Okay. If you're going to ever consider being world-class in your presentation, at some point, your presentations have to move away from being casual. There's been this weird transformation that's been taking place in the real estate industry that's actually moving more towards casual than professional, right? Like having a hey, let me come over. I'll check out the value of the home. I want to really see what you've done there. Then I'll go back and do my homework and find out what's going on. And then we'll talk about more seriously about listing. You can't have casual. You can't have casual with your best friend today, right? Doesn't your best friend deserve your best presentation? There's no casual. And then, a suit jacket with a AC/DC t-shirt under it does not count. Okay, it doesn't count. I know it's trendy and you can go out to dinner that way afterwards, but this counts. Casual does not work today. I believe that the public is demanding a more formal environment again. So if you've started to get more and more casual, I'm asking you to stop for your client's sake. Okay, they deserve it. You have a best past customer. You've had them for years. You helped them with a sale or two, right? You go over to their house. You get the listing. You leave with the listing. And isn't this a sad conversation, right? Husband and wife going, gosh, was Tony sloppy this time or what? Like, we gave him the listing, but God, I don't know if I'm going to refer him to my Uncle Bob who owns 20 homes. I'm not going to do it because that was sloppy. You don't want to ever be seen that way. Formal across the board. They're all formal, okay? I wrote down, if you're ever going to have a world-class presentation, somehow, some way, you've got to learn to be able to listen to the client, okay? If you can't ever figure out how to listen to the client. Now, there's two kinds of listening. There is listening so you can figure out what to say next, and there's listening so you can understand what they're trying to accomplish. What do you think most agents do when I say listening? All they're doing is saying, what do I say? How do I respond to that? How can I come back to that? What's my answer? What's my answer? That's not listening. That's listening to respond. That's different. You know, Mike told me, he said he ran into this guy at the golf course. First time he'd ever met him. He's a high-end executive from Zurich. Okay. And after golf, this guy started kind of stalking him a little bit, called, want to play golf, let's get together. And I said, Mike, how did that happen? And Sabrina was standing there. She goes, I know how it happened. All Mike does is ask questions and listen. And because he asks questions and listens, he looks and sounds and feels like a genius to people. Right? Here's this high-level executive, smart as can be, ran this this major company, and suddenly Mike Ferry is the genius. Why? Because all he does is ask questions and listen. So if you're at a listing presentation and people do not feel like they're being heard, how smart are you really? You kind of look like everyone else. Okay, let's work on our listening. So there's only one way to do it. You have to know how to respond in every selling situation. If you don't know how to respond in every dialogue you're going to get, the only way you can listen is to respond, right? You know, anything. I mean, use anything. I have a friend in the business. I can appreciate that, and almost everyone does. So let me ask you a question. Do you absolutely have to sell this home, or are you just looking to do your friend a favor? Obviously, you had me out for a reason, right? Do you feel I can sell your home? If you don't have all of that dialogue snap canned, you can't ever listen. So you need to work on the objection handlers, don't we? Okay. I wrote down, all of us, every one of us has our favorite actor, actress, our favorite musician, our favorite, performer, comedian. And when they perform, you are compelled to jump out of your seat and applaud. The world loves a great presentation. You see it and you're like, standing O, right? Like, you know what that feels like. You just feel like you got to jump up and applaud the presentation. Well, in our world, are you interested in that? Do you ever think about creating a presentation? You ever had a seller jump up at the end and go, oh my God, I can't, wow. Probably never going to happen, right? But the idea is, shouldn't you be striving for that they're doing that inside? Shouldn't you be striving to, they go, I have never seen anything that good from a real estate agent in my life. Why wouldn't you strive for that? Okay. Mike wrote down, there's 3 reasons we won't strive to do that. There's 3 reasons we will not strive to have that quality. One is our ego gets in the way. We just can't and won't let our ego get out of the way. This is how I do it. This is how it's supposed to be done. I'm not going to change, right? 2, changing behaviors is hard. I don't know if you can appreciate this, but I can remember plain as day a long time ago now, when I finally made the decision that I was going to do this the way Mike had been teaching me, right? So it's like 25 years ago. I had been messing around for like 5-6 years, just doing it my own way, right? And so I had the scripts in my hand. I'm walking up the walkway. I go, this is it. This is the time. I'm going to do this Mike Ferry script. I've got it here. I'm set. This is it. This is the day. The door opens. I say, how are you? Gone forever, right? Gone forever. As soon as I say, how are you? Hey, what's going on? You know what I'm talking about, right? Now, next thing you know, you're doing this and you're back and, oh my God, look at the paintings. Look at the art. Your house is so gorgeous. And you're immediately back into your old behavior. Changing behavior is hard, right? Why do you think our presentation is like this? The door opens. Thank you so much for having me over. I'm so excited about getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Could you take a seat at the kitchen table? I want to go take the look at the home like a professional would. I'll be right back for a great presentation. Why do we do that? So you don't start with, how are you? What a beautiful home. It's over. You know it's over when that happens. Okay, so we start right in so you can change behavior. And then the third reason We won't master a world-class presentation because we're not committed to our goals. Right? You have to look at something, and I'm going to be a little firm here, okay? You want a bigger house? It's your presentation. You want more money in the bank? It's your presentation. You want to pay off your bills? It's your presentation. Do you want to own a 20-unit apartment building cash? It's your presentation. If you will start understanding that the position you're in right now in real estate, if you're not happy with it, it's because of your presentation. Okay? So if you want to change that, you start connecting your goals to your ability to present. Okay? Is your presentation worthy of owning that 20-unit apartment building? Maybe not yet. Is your presentation worthy of being debt-free? Maybe not quite yet. Right? I know one thing for sure. You know people that get the standing ovations all the time? What kind of cars do they drive? Do you think it's
the good ones?
Right? Andrea Bocelli, we are fortunate here at the MFO organization to be friends with Andrea. And, you know, you have to consider Andrea Bocelli had like, what was it? Several million people pay $49 for his Christmas event. Several million pay $49 for a Zoom. Okay. You only get that way by the quality of your presentation. It's the only way it happens. Okay. So they're connected, right? I wrote down, if you're ever going to be world class, you have at some point have to move from big, bold statements to asking questions. Your presentation has got to move off of asking, you know, let me tell you about our company and our marketing plan. Let me tell you why you should hire me, right? That is old news. Every seller in America has heard that pitch. Okay. You've got to switch from that to asking questions. If you can't make that transformation, your presentation will never be as good as it can. Okay. So I wrote a question for you under it. Where do you start making bold statements in your presentation now? Where do you start that? Is it about your marketing? Is it about the pricing? Do you have a long dissertation that you give people before you start talking to them about the value of their home? Right? If you look at our presentation, it's just several questions and then the value of their home. Okay. Do you have some big promotion that you do about the way you market and social media and all those things to present? Okay. You got to shift off of that in some way, somehow. Okay. I only know one way is to figure out how be told and do what I'm told to say. So I don't let my brain take over and do all the stupid stuff. It's the only way I know how. Just do what I'm told, right? It works. Okay. I wrote down, many people have a challenge with the details of a presentation. Have you ever been critiqued on your eye contact? Have you ever been critiqued on your ability to smile naturally in public? Have you ever been critiqued on your handshake? Have you ever been critiqued on when the door opens and you walk in? How do you look, act, behave? In our coaching world, we do this a lot with our coaching clients, right? I've had coaching clients that I'll ask them, I need you to set a camera on a tripod on the other side of a door in your office. I need you to turn it on. I need you to go in, close the door, open the door. I need you to walk towards the camera and have your opening line. And let's see how it goes. Thank you so much for having me over. I'm so excited. It's horrible. But there's only one way that you'll ever realize. Most men over 35 years old, do you know that you were trained not to smile? Men over, like, you think about your parents and grandparents. If you're more than 35 years old, what are you laughing at, Sonny? What are you smiling at? Quit giggling. You're going to have to support a family one of these days. That is America. That is the world, right? Ladies, how were you taught? If you get uncomfortable, what are you supposed to do? Smile. It's no wonder the ladies outsell the men because they know how to smile in public, right? Men, this is serious. You have a house to sell. I have to really be serious. Come on, it's not going to work, right? Maybe you need to be critiqued on the small details of your presentation. Okay. I made a note. we're going to spend some time on this because Mike Ferry wanted to be sure that we drove this point home. Okay. The hardest part is for us to accept, adopt, and fully implement a canned presentation. If you ever want to become world class, there's only one way. Okay. I don't know about you. If you see an athlete, a basketball player, you ever see a basketball player? Well, let's go to golf, for example. Do you think it makes a lot of sense for a golfer to try to change their golf swing all the way through the round of golf? Let's change it every time I swing. You're going to be the worst golfer in the world, right? Okay. Anybody that's a true quintessential professional does it the same way every time. So we have to start looking at canned, okay? First of all, life is a canned presentation, okay? I tie this tie exactly the same way. If you ask me to tie it different, it's going to be screwed up. We drive to work the same way, canned. Ladies, your makeup, it's a canned presentation, all right? It's canned. I'll make this point really firm, and then we're going to get into some details on it. Have you ever had the incredible, ugly experience of eating Spam? Anybody ever had the good fortune of eating Spam? Okay.
Yes.
When I was a kid, in my household, Spam was pretty regular. Now, I do not know what the yellow stuff was around Spam in the can. I don't know what that goo was when they dump it out, right? But you can appreciate it, right? Okay. On the other side of the coin, have you ever had, if you have a taste for it, the great experience of eating caviar? Anybody, if you have a taste for it, oh my gosh, incredible caviar. Now, I, in my lifetime, have had the luxury of both. Did you know they both come in a can?
Good point. That's a really good point.
So I have to ask you, does your presentation have that yellow goo all around it? Or is it really fine caviar? Okay. I'm asking you to have fine caviar, right? So let's look at the value of canned, right? When you have a canned presentation, it flows from one end to the other, and it's really great for the client. You ever been in a presentation where you find yourself out in left field talking about the backyard or something crazy, and you're clear out over here, and your mind is going, now how am I going to segue from that back into signing the contract? Have you ever been there? Like you're talking about something, you can't believe you're sitting at a presentation, 7:30 at night, and you're literally talking about baseball. And you're going, now how in the world am I ever going to come full circle from this baseball conversation and get him to sign the contract? It's so rocky, isn't it? A canned presentation takes them all the way, okay? So let's look at some things. What is the value to the customer of having a canned presentation? What's the value? Mike wrote it down. A great script is 100% customer oriented. It benefits the customer the entire time. Have you ever caught out of the corner of your eye a seller doing this while you're ranting or talking or pontificating? Have you ever caught a seller do this? Have you ever seen them like roll their eyes like?
Painful.
It's painful when you catch them. Like there, you just realize that what you're talking about right now at this moment has no benefit to them, and they'd rather be doing anything than listening to that. Like that's the worst feeling in the world. Like, go, I better shut up now, right? Okay. Practice script creates automatic responses. Would you like to know how it's going to turn out? A canned presentation, you know how it's going to turn out because you're in control. You're delivering the questions, and there's usually only one or two ways they can answer. And you know how to respond in either way they answer. So the whole way through, a canned presentation it's automatic. It's fun when you ask a question, right? Think about it. At the end of my presentation tonight, one of three things will happen. Number one, you'll have the opportunity to go ahead and list your home with me. Number two, you might decide not to list your home with me. Number three, I may decide not to take the listing. Now let's go through the questions I ask you on the phone. Okay. You know what the questions you ask on the phone because it's canned. So you know what they're going to say, right? If you didn't do the pre-qual, now you don't know what they're going to say. Now it's like, who knows, right? You ever have a seller do this kind of thing? Hey, honey, did you tell Tony about the lawsuit? Boy, isn't that a thrill, right? What lawsuit? Oh, we can't sell the house until we clear up the lawsuit. We're in a major law. That's nice to know, right? Did we tell you about our third, fourth, and fifth mortgage? Right? These are all the things where you don't like, I don't like to get blindsided. A canned presentation, you don't get blindsided because all the responses are predictable, right? And we wrote down the flow. I've actually critiqued coaching clients on how they pull the materials out of their briefcase or out of the file and how they put them on the table to make sure that it's not weird. Like some of our clients, a world-class presentation, right? Is this one? Oh, hold on. I got to get paperwork. Oh, wait, I got some comps here. Hold on. Where's my comps? Oh, I got comps. I think I need a pen. Hold on. Let me get my stuff. There is nothing weirder than that for the seller, right? So can you create a canned presentation has flow? And maybe it's even, I put all the paperwork in my briefcase or in my folder in exactly the right order. So when I pull it out and put it there, my pens are there, my paperwork's there, I put it out the same way every time. Now that's smooth. The other way is bumpy, okay? Why do we resist this whole thing? Why do we resist this canned presentation so badly? Our egos, okay? In the coaching world and speaking world, one of the hardest parts for me is to watch and see a coaching client or just a real estate agent that comes to our events and watch them see over a 15, 20-year career, the pain and agony they go through financially because their ego will not let them learn a canned presentation. It is so hard to see, like, didn't I see you 5 years ago and were you living in the same home with the same money and didn't you have the same problem? Didn't I see you 10 years ago and weren't you talking about a tax lien you had, right? And in my mind, I know it's just because you won't trust us on learning a presentation. Don't let that be you. It's ego, right? Some people won't even accept the word salesperson. Does your business card say professional counselor? Real estate guru? Does it have, you can't even say the word out loud, right? I'm a salesperson. Right? It's what we are. It's what we've chosen to do. It's the career you've chosen. If you're not proud of what you do, it's going to stop you from a canned presentation. Okay. Some people have never learned how to learn scripts. Some people just have never learned how to learn scripts. All right. It's like this. At the beginning of my presentation, I wrote down 3 questions. Let's see. Number 1, do you absolutely have to sell this home? Let me try it without the paper. So at the beginning of my presentation, I wrote down 3 questions. Number 1, do you absolutely have to sell this home? Okay, let's try number 2. You have to memorize it, right? I struggle with what internalization means, like to define internalizing a script. It's hard to define that, right? But I don't struggle with what memorizing is. Like I don't have a problem with the definition of memorizing. And I also know that I'm pretty sure that you'll never internalize it without memorizing it. So you want your first tip? Memorize the doggone thing. It's 4 pages back, like this. It's simple. Memorize it. Okay. I wrote down learning a canned presentation is very uncomfortable short term. Many people won't go down the road because it's very, very uncomfortable short term. Have you ever been set up like you really want to become a great listing agent? I'm going to do it. I want to become a listing agent. And then you run into the uncomfortable part of learning a canned presentation and it bounces you right back into being a buyer's agent. Like, I'm going to do it, but I got to stand up and learn this script. Yeah, I think I'll just chauffeur some buyers around for a few hours. That's easier, right? You know what I'm talking about. We've all been there where we go, this looks hard. I'm going to be embarrassed. This is ridiculous. So I think I'll just show some buyers. Don't let that be you. The worst career choice you could possibly make is to spend your entire career, 7 o'clock at night, weekends, high emotion, being bounced out of deals because you'll only accept buyers because you won't go through the uncomfort of learning a presentation. You got to get through it. Once you get through it, it is smooth sailing on the other side. Okay. Some people won't go down this road because they resist. They like the bonding experience. Like some people, they just want the connection. I want I want to be connected to families for 20 years. I love the high fives. I love the hugs. Remember when we used to give high fives pre-COVID, right? Remember that? And some people, they think that's a big, and they truly have a big part of that being that connection, okay? Question for you. Will you ever get to bond with somebody if you don't get their listing? Hey, I know we're not going to work together right now and you're going to list with Joe down the street. That's fine. But do you want to hug it out anyway? Like, oh my God. Like, should we be best friends forever? It's never going to happen, right? Like, if you don't get to list and sell their home, you never get to be friends. Do you want to be friends with somebody that won't list with you? I don't really, So if you do have that desire to bond and have friends for life and customers for life, you got to get the listing. And there's only one way to do that, right? And then the last thing that is true, and this is real on this little part of the list, is some people won't go down the canned road because there is a fear of success. I didn't used to believe this. Like Mike would say that and I go, what? Who's afraid of success? Nobody, right? It's true, okay? And what you have to appreciate is sometimes when you face being world class, you might need new friends. You might need a new banker. You might buy a bigger home in a nicer neighborhood and drive a car that your parents go, what are you driving? How much did that cost? Right? The truth is becoming a great world-class presenter means that some of those things are going to be in your future. Some of the friends will start going, hey, I'm not hanging out with you. You always, got all the money, right? That's success. And part of becoming a great presenter is that you have to accept that may happen to some degree. Okay, it's real and it's true. Okay, so I want to look at a couple things that we're here. Karen Bernardi, a long-term friend of mine. I've known her for 30 years. I'll never forget it, plain as day. We're sitting in an event. I always admired her because her production was so much higher than mine early, right? And so we're sitting there and there's like 20 of us in a room and she raises her hand and, Mike, I have a question. Okay. She said, I had a realization in this seminar that I've been selling all this real estate and I don't know how to sell. And I can remember plain as day looking at her going, you're an idiot, right? Because she's making so much money. I go, you have to know how to sell. I don't know how to sell. You must know how to sell, right? And she goes, I don't. It's been energy, enthusiasm, grit, drive. She said, I am committed right now in front of all these people that I'm going to learn how to sell. And I will say right now that I want to get a canned presentation. What should I do? And Mike Ferry looks her right in the eye and said, Karen, thank you, first of all, for being honest. Okay. Here's how you start. I want you to write the presentation, the Mike Ferry presentation out from the pre-qual all the way through. I want you to write it out every single day for 30 straight days. If you won't do that, you really don't want to master a presentation. Like if I can't even get you to write it out every day for 30 days, how committed will you be when I start really critiquing you? So I'm challenging everybody watching today. If you want to adopt this full on, I want you to literally sit down every morning or every night and write it out completely. If you won't do that, you're probably not going to take step 2. Okay, so let's take step 1. Here's the beauty. I wrote a couple notes about the beauty of this presentation. One beautiful thing is it works for everybody. Like our Mike Ferry presentation. One of my best long-term customers, okay? You get mad when I say it. I've sold 400 homes for him in my lifetime, okay? He's one of my best long-time customers. When I met him, he was a billionaire, right? And I used the Mike Ferry presentation on an expired listing with him. Now, I didn't know he was a billionaire at the time. He acted like he wasn't. But I used the 5-step Mike Ferry process, just like I was taught, and he ate it up. He ate it up, and we became lifelong clients, and I still talk to him, and we work together today, right? So it works on that guy. It also works on an expired that's just a regular person. It works on your past clients. You only need to learn one presentation. It works for everybody. You don't have to be a chameleon. You have to know one. Right? I made a note. If you're ever going to be great, you have to accept that your presentation must be based around three things. Three things. One, knowing the questions sellers always ask and being able to answer them. You need to, at some point, get a grip on what questions they're always going to ask, right? What do they always ask? What's the most amount of money I can get? How long is it going to take, right? And what are you going to do to get it sold? They're always going to, and you have to, at some point, be able to answer that. Two, knowing the objections they will always give and having a response. There's only 12. Okay, there's 13. Now there's a COVID one, right? Okay, so now you have the COVID one. There's one more, right? But there's only 13 objections that you have to really master. Are you struggling with those? Like, I'll bet if you have teenagers, if they had to memorize our 13 objection handlers, I'll bet they could do it faster than we could. It's not that hard. They memorize stuff at school all the time. I'll bet you could get them to memorize exactly what to say for the 11, 12, 13 objections we have. At some point, if you want to be great, you've got to have them memorized. And then the third one, at some point, you've got to be the best person you know at delivering the market stats. That's not hard either, but most people will never take on the challenge of learning how to deliver market stats to the public. Okay? And you've got to accept that for yourself. Okay? So there's a couple things I wanted to look at. First, we had an experience in Mike Ferry this last year that was interesting. Okay? We had the highest percentage. Now, hear me on this. We had the highest percentage of our coaching clients, the highest percentage ever, make the most money they've ever made in a year. In 2020, we had the highest percentage of our coaching clients make the most money they've ever made in 1 year of selling real estate. Okay. And then we've also all got to witness the inventory do this and move over to people that are being coached. Okay. That transgression, that migration of listings has gotten so extreme that it's shrinking and it's moving over to people who know how to present and who are being pushed to do their job every day. If you're not being pushed to do your job every day and you don't know how to present, this inventory is moving away from you, not towards you. There's less of it for you. So there's this window of time that if you want to make the most money you've ever made, you need to consider at some point joining us on the highest level possible. Because when you do that, we believe you can do that if you do the work. Okay. And then there's some great news. I don't know, Sam, if you even know this news. Do you know the great news that came out of MFO on Monday this week?
I don't know that I do.
Our production retreat, or our Superstar Retreat 2021 is going to be live in Las Vegas.
Oh my gosh. Like with more than 50 people?
Yes, live, like it could be as many as 4,000 people. We don't know yet. Okay.
Wow.
The governor,
now I'm excited about that.
This is good. Like we get to all connect. And as elite agents that work for Sam, you guys are elite. So it's half price. Everything's half price for you guys. So as an elite agent, you can come to a live event with, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4,000 people, however many they'll let us have. Okay. And you'll be able to come live and experience something really great if you never have. Okay. And what is it, $195 for an elite agent to do that? You can sign up and get registered and do that now. Okay. It's live. All right. So that's big.
One of the best experiences ever. My life changed forever the moment I walked into my first Superstar Retreat. I look back on that as the biggest pivot point in our careers. So you got to go.
You got to go. If you want to do something, if you feel like you can be safe and you can travel in July, which is going to start working in that direction, right? You've got to decide if you want to hit one of the most influential events of your career. I think it's going to be really influential for a lot of ways because it'll be probably one of the first major events coming out of COVID in the world for real estate agents. Okay. We'll probably be the first that can do that. So it's going to be really exciting. Okay. So I hope today you've taken some thoughts and some steps about really deciding to once and for all lock down a world-class listing presentation. Takes a little time, takes a little work, but anyone can do it. And I mean anyone can do it. So I hope you've got some points there. We want to look at, we'll get these notes your way. Questions. Does anybody have any questions that we could answer?
Yeah, so if you have questions, throw them into the Facebook chat right now. We're broadcasting through Zoom into the group. So if you throw them into the chat box, I will share them and we can address them quickly. Also, as those are coming in, just to recap, there's a lot more of these notes, so they'll be sending them out and you'll have the ability to get access to them. So I did have a question come through, which is actually by text, funny enough. My biggest concern about learning or trying to use a script is I feel like my clients will think that I'm being robotic and I'll lose their trust.
Thank you. That is a fair, legitimate question. Okay. It naturally sounds robotic in your ear, especially to begin with, because it's bumpy and it's uncomfortable, right? And it sounds robotic. You have to also question, will your clients, if you're presenting with authority, will they be on offense or defense? If you're asking questions and your presentation, you're using our presentation, you're asking questions, are they on offense or defense?
They're on offense.
They're on defense. We're asking a question, they're just trying to respond. And when people are trying to respond, they don't have they're not even that aware of their surroundings, to be honest, right?
I thought you meant, do they get defensive?
Oh, they get defensive. No, they're trying to respond. So I wrote down 3 real important questions for you. Do you two have to get this home sold? Well, yes. Will you price it at a home that will cause it to sell, or do you want it to sit around for a long time? Well, we don't want it to sit around. Okay, do you want me to go ahead and handle the sale for you? Well, we're not sure. They're just on defense, first of all, okay? They don't have time to critique you. And then secondly, in 90 days or less, if you do what I ask, you can convert it from sounding robotic at all to sounding like you've been doing it for 20 years.
Totally.
You just have to work.
I'll say for myself, I haven't actually sold real estate in probably about 10 years, right? We started the company. I decided I'm not going to be a competing broker. But it's been so internalized over years of using it and memorizing it that now I can step into it and probably present it better than most. And I could probably step into a presentation and beat most agents like a drum. The problem is most of us don't want to go through that curve of going from, yes, you might sound robotic in the beginning, and yes, it might be uncomfortable, but I remember Mike telling me a long time ago, don't be afraid to practice on people, right? Like, sometimes you'll be robotic, it'll be challenging, but eventually you'll internalize it. So someone else is asking, what does being an elite agent mean? Obviously that's what Tony was just talking about. But at Big Block, we subscribe to the elite program, which one brings Tony and Mike in to do these presentations for us individually just for the office, but also you get half off of almost all of their programs, if not all of them. So the tickets normally are like $400 or $500. You're going to get them for half of that price. Yep.
And, we send out the little email that comes out. We have this motivational email that goes out to everybody that's on the roster. That thing is seen by 250,000 people every week that Mike puts together. It's a good way to start the week, right? And if I have my way, we're just getting started. We have more and more things that we want to apply to our elite brokers because you're actually doing good work for the agents, which we want and need badly today, right? So we're going to keep doing what we can to help for sure.
Awesome. Well, Tony, thank you so much for doing this, and huge congratulations on your position over there. I think that's exciting to start in the audience and work your way up into this organization. I'm sure you're proud of yourself, and it's great to see. Excited to see what you put together. I'm excited to hopefully see you in Vegas.
Yes.
Superstar retreat. For all of us that are watching, we'll get you the notes. And if you have any questions, let me know or let anybody on the team know. And also, I strongly urge you and challenge you, go to MikeFerry.com, download these scripts, download the objection handlers, and consider signing up for, are you guys still doing those 15-minute free sessions for people?
We've got free coaching evaluation. If you want to do a little evaluation on where you stand and if coaching makes sense for you, believe me, we're not this company. And if you've ever watched Mike, he's not one of these guys you need. He's not that guy. It's like somebody that either has to move or not. You either understand the value of a coach and you can see yourself making a fortune from doing that, or you don't. We trust our value. Okay. We know that we can get you there. If you're willing to go to work and you're willing to be coachable, we can get you there. That's a decision that you can make. The only thing I would say is the world of real estate is shifting enough that you need to consider it more than ever.
I agree.
Yep.
I'll say it was the best decision that Oliver and I made. And in the most literal terms, would not be here right now with Tony today. And you probably wouldn't be working with Big Block if it wasn't for our decision many, many years ago to go down this route. So it's changed our lives, and I hope it does yours as well. Tony, this was great. You brought a lot of fun to it, brought a lot of good information. Very good job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And hopefully we'll chat soon.
We will for sure. Thank you guys for attending. We'll all see each other before long.
All right, Tony. Have a great day.
Take care.
Be safe. Thanks. Bye-bye.